something I have come to realise in this huge unmasking journey I'm currently having in my autism journey is that people pleasing is my autism mask. And this has been a huge thing to realise, and I have been gradually unpicking it. And the more I unpick it, the deeper I realise that this thing goes. Hey folks, it's Finn. Welcome back, lovely people. It is lovely to see you. Thank you so much for choosing to spend time with me today. And if you are watching my videos for the very first time, then a massive welcome. It's lovely to have you here. This little bundle of fur you can see just sort of sticking out is Captain Pip Digby, who's just come back for a walk with his new dog walker and has passed out. I was hoping he might just be here so you can see him a bit more, because he's had a lovely new haircut. Yeah, but no, he's just here. So yeah, today I want to talk about autism and people pleasing, boundaries, perfectionism, fawning, and all of that, because I've just had like this massive realization that it's just blown my mind. Absolutely blown my mind. So let me try and just tell you what's happened in a nutshell. So as you know, I have been unmasking now for like a year, trying to work out exactly what that means, because as you know, I had this like little idea that unmasking would mean I would just stop forcing myself to do certain things and it would be all easy peasy la la la. But no, unmasking is not that at all. It's a massive roller coaster of a journey. I was reading this post on Instagram a couple of months ago now, and it was saying about skill regression, because this is what I was looking at, because at the moment it just feels like everything is so hard, you know. I once upon a time could like look okay, act okay, I could like go to a till and pay for things, you know, I'd be super anxious but I could look as if I was okay, you know, I could ask for things, I could act not anxious, you know, I could get myself out and about, just about, you know, I was always doing this anxiety thing where, you know, I'd act as if I wasn't anxious, feel the fear and do it when, anyway, all of that. And now all of a sudden, you know, I just can't seem to do the things that I used to do. And I'm laughing, it's not funny. But you have to laugh at yourself, don't you? Otherwise you go bonkers. And I was reading this post, and it said in this post about, you know, it's not skill regression, it's recalibration. It's basically, you know, all of the years of pushing through, of denying your needs, you know, of just feeling all of that pain that you're in, but just pushing through anyway. And now all of a sudden, you know, you're allowing yourself to feel everything that you've been denying for so long. And it's your nervous system breathing out after a lifetime of people pleasing. And I read that and went, yeah, yeah, that's what I've been doing. Oh my goodness. Now, I knew about myself that I tend to be a people pleaser. I knew about myself that I have a very high tendency to be a perfectionist. I knew about myself that I can be very fawning, you know, I want to just keep other people happy. I hate conflict. And this is something that's very tied into trauma. I'm aware of this, you know, but I've never thought about it in terms of my autism. So it was this massive instant realization. But then when I started to talk to my counsellor about this, I could see that actually this realization had been bubbling to the surface for a while, because we'd been talking about like some of the ways I'd been making friends that was really not serving me some of the ways I was saying yes to things that weren't serving me, and that actually this realization about people pleasing had been bubbling up to the surface for a while, and not just around kind of like trauma responses, but around this kind of thing about just keeping people happy, trying to act like everyone else, do what everyone else does, basically acting neurotypical. Masking as a way to kind of act and look like everyone else. And I'd never really thought about it like that, you know, and that's clearly what I have been doing. My masking has been a way, my people pleasing has been a way of masking. And I can see this in play in so many areas of my life. You know, that it's not just a trauma response. I think I have two kind of like strains of people pleasing, fawning, perfectionism, all of this that comes from trauma response, but also definitely from masking. And let's face it, the two intertwine, because you get trauma from years and years of masking. But like everything I do, you know, I don't want to upset people by acting differently or asking for things differently. So I just desperately try and do things the way everyone else does them and act normal, you know, in order to look like everyone else, not be too much, you know. It just really hit home how often I have just not said no for, you know, are you comfortable in this cafe? Is this cafe fine for you? Yes. Whilst the music's blaring, so many people talking that I can't breathe, think straight, my skin's crawling, you know, all of these things. One of the things that was coming up with my therapist is the way I make friends. I want to make a separate video about socialising and how this is changing for me. But something I'm becoming very, very aware of is I often make friends on the back of being helpful. Like, I don't often know how to initiate friendships, so they often start with, oh, I can help you with this, from me. And then we go into a friendship, and then I suddenly realise it's become very one-sided with them coming to me for help, and I'm never getting anything back. And I'm starting to be much better now at saying that's enough. What about me? You know? So that kind of thing, and never saying no, you know, because I didn't want to upset people, but also not, you know, only now that I understand I'm autistic, am I realising that I didn't really understand when it was okay to say no, and the dynamics of friendship, and when those dynamics weren't quite right, you know. I often just thought that everyone had these kind of dynamics, and I'm now learning when these dynamics aren't quite right. Does that make sense? I've always had this real need to be liked and this real fear of not being liked, and you know, that very much is about just feeling so very different and just not like everyone else, and just seeing how everyone is and wanting to be so much like them and not having any real sense of, you know, if I'm going to be okay as I am, you know. And it's just, it's so, I don't know if I'm putting this into words enough, but I've been reading around this in terms of people pleasing and autism, and found that it isn't unique. It's a very, very common thing, because you see these tropes, don't you, like Sheldon on The Big Bang Theory, and he's like, oh, you know, just so rude and blunt, and he doesn't care. And lots of people kind of think about that when you think about autistic people. But actually, the opposite's true. Apparently, it's more common that we're very people-pleasing people, because it's so hard to make friends and it's so hard to fit in, that we desperately want to please people and not upset people or say the wrong thing. Yeah, this has blown my mind. It's really blown my mind, because it is my main mask. I've realised this, that people pleasing is definitely my main mask. It is the main way that I go about the world, you know, interacting with people. I want to make sure they're happy. What can I do, say, and act to keep them happy? Oh no, they don't look right. What have I done? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I've got to fix it. I've got to fix it. It's my fault. You know, that is my absolute default position. And I hadn't tied that in with being autistic, but that's absolutely my mask. Wow. So yeah, I used to think my boundaries were pretty good, but I'm learning. Well, that my boundaries probably are better than they once were, but I'm now realising that my boundaries have got a lot of work to be done in order to stop saying sorry. The fawning's got to stop. The people pleasing's got to stop. Because if I'm going to start advocating for what I need in order to feel more comfortable, to be able to unmask, to ask for my needs and accommodations to be met, I need to be able to not people please and just ask, you know. This is the next step. This is why it's important. It's important for my nervous system to stop being so on edge, because I can see how that feeds into my anxiety. It's like I can feel in a room if someone's upset and I instantly go, oh, it's me, I've done something weird. I've said something weird. I'm acting weird. I must have upset them. I've got to learn to either not care if it's me that's upset them or not worry about it, you know. I am getting really good at this whole stimming in public and not caring, because I'm actually seeing the effects it's having. Because I keep on about this, I use Visible, and I can see in my stats how much calmer I am for allowing myself to stim in public. And I'm getting very good about not caring so much about that now. The remaining anxiety I feel is basically the worry about how it comes across to others. So the work I need to do now and am doing is around caring less about what people think. And that comes from not people pleasing, you know. My whole kind of thing at the moment is accepting how I'm looking. I had to do lots of work on this when I started using a wheelchair and people's perceptions of me. And now I'm in a wheelchair and I'm stimming and I'm not making eye contact and I look visibly very different, and I'm having to work on that. Because, you know, it's just accepting that people will have perceptions of me and who cares, you know. So that's one aspect I'm working on, that people-pleasing side of just not caring what they think. The boundaries side is something I'm working more on. I'm starting to learn to say no to people. I've had friends now walk away because I've set boundaries and said, you know, I love you. I know you're going through trouble, but I can't keep being there. I'm overwhelmed and exhausted. And what's happened? They've just stopped contacting me. So that hurts, because it says that they were only there because of what they wanted from me. But at least now I know. So that's the sort of thing I've got to keep doing. And I'm getting there. I'm getting much better at doing that. And I've just generally got to get braver at not just boundaries, but also asserting my needs. Because the more I do that, the more I can actually accommodate what I need, you know. Because I say I want to go into another vlog about how I'm managing social stuff now that I've got better tools. So like I'm socializing now by not talking to people and just being around them, and that really works for me. So if I can say to people, I want to be next to you but don't talk to me, it feels really weird saying that. But, you know, having the courage to actually assert my boundaries, assert my needs, and not worrying what they think of me, you know, that sort of thing is really helpful for me going forwards. Yeah. So this has been a really amazing realisation to have. You know, I can see how, you know, it served me for a long time. You know, I needed to protect myself. I didn't want to be judged. I didn't know what was happening, you know. I didn't know I was autistic, and I was just trying to survive in this world the best way I could. And so for a long time, my people pleasing, my perfectionism, my fawning, and that helped me to survive. But it's also burnt out my nervous system, hasn't it? So now that I know this is really exciting. I think this has been one of the most exciting realizations around unmasking I've had, second to stimming, because stimming's just amazing. But realizing that people pleasing is like my main mask is like, wow, okay, because of how much it's tied into, if I learn to undo that and care less. Do you remember in videos like a while back I wanted to give less of a shit, and I actually said that, and that's it really, isn't it? Because caring less what other people think will free me up to be able to stim more, ask for my needs to be met more easily, set boundaries easily, because then I won't be worrying so much about what other people need. I'll be worrying more about what I need, you know? So this has been a massive realisation to have, and I'm very grateful for it. So yes, no more time wasted trying to be palatable for others. If I want to go to a counter, not make eye contact, not speak, and just hand over the money, I will, because that's what I need. If I want to say to somebody, no, I can't help you, end of, no explanation, that's fine. If I can't make it to an event, I don't need to make a 12-page document explaining why I'm not going. I just won't go. You know, it's these kind of things. So, yes. Exciting revelation going forward. If you relate to this, if this has made sense and you relate, I would love to hear in the comments below. So please do drop a comment if you've had this kind of realization around masking and people pleasing and boundaries and fawning and all of that. I hope it's not just me. I hope this has made sense. If it has, please do let me know in the comments. I'm sorry you've only got like half a fluff here. People who have asked, he's doing much better after his surgery. He's recently had his x-rays. The plate in his ankle is healed really, really well, perfectly in fact. So now he's all good to go. He can now walk, run normally. He just needs to learn to reuse the ankle after it being fused. So he's still lifting it up on occasion, but we're gradually teaching him to reuse the leg. But he's doing really, really well. But you can't tell because he's just, all you can see is his little back feet. Look at them feet. Look at those fluffy feet. Pip, do you want to say hello to the people on the camera? Oh, you just, oh, sorry, Tom. You're so, okay, go back to sleep. Ignore me. But yeah, he's doing well. Thank you so much for asking. Right, take care of yourselves, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.